right, so this whole series is about mindful movement for autoimmune conditions. And this is a series that's going to start with the basics, and it's going to actually start giving you some tools even on those days when you might be in flare or you're feeling like your energy is really low. I'm still going to be giving you some options that you can do on those days. So I call this class just like the Goldilocks fable, not too hot, not too cold, but just right. So a little bit about me. I'm a mindfulness instructor and a yoga therapist. I live on unceded Algonquin land in rural Eastern Ontario, and I'm very interested in exploring how we relate to ourselves inside, so becoming more aware of what's arising in the present moment, aware mindfully of our thoughts, and our emotions, and very much in terms of mindful movement, aware of sensations moment to moment. And I bring that into right relationship with the world around me. And so as I'm delivering this 5-class series, I'm really interested in how to share with you in a way that it adapts and modifies movements that will work for you no matter what is going on in your life, no matter what challenges that you're facing. And so that is going to be my focus with you through these next 5 classes. A little disclaimer, please be aware it's your responsibility to choose which exercises you will do on any given day and to discuss any concerns that you might have about your participation in this program with your doctor. So let's talk a little bit about how I've structured this series. So I'm using as my template the Canadian 24-hour movement guidelines, and I believe they came out in 2021. And you can see that there's certain components to these guidelines, and they include 150 minutes per week of physical activity. And we are going to be exploring in weeks 2, 3, and 4 different kinds of physical activity that provide for you a really integrated and well-balanced program. In this first class, however, I want to set you up with some basics. And as I said before, these basics can provide you some tools on those days when you're not really feeling like you're up for doing a lot of movement. And also what I'm going to prepare you to do is to help you to find safe movements that you can do when you're doing light activities throughout the day. And that does include standing and slow walking, but also light daily household chores as well. So that's what we're going to be focusing on this week. So I'm going to break that down into a few different topics. So we're going to be talking about stress and exercise intolerance and why people living with autoimmune conditions have to approach exercise in a slightly different way than somebody who's just full on, all out in the gym. And how mindfulness, I have found, is an approach that can really help with this. And we're going to review the basics of mindful movement. And those are going to be looking at how we sit and stand, so our postures. And we're going to then explore in good posture breathing, and how good posture and breathing also will help to support good abdominal core strength. And we're going to be talking about something called the abdominal brace. And then finally, we're going to review some movements to support that light daily activity. So let's talk a little bit about stress and exercise and tolerance first. And I'm sure most of you are probably aware of this, but stress is any demand that is placed upon us. And it's important to remember that stress can be healthy or unhealthy. So exercise can actually become an unhealthy stress on the body if we push ourselves too hard too soon. And really, that is sort of the dominant cultural way of approaching exercise, is to really push hard and to continue to push. And as you know, that doesn't always work if you're living with an autoimmune condition. So when we are dealing with autoimmune and inflammatory conditions, we need to approach exercise differently from that mainstream approach. So if you often feel drained and unwell after exercise, you may be experiencing exercise intolerance. And the reason that is something we need to be very aware of is that can trigger a flare. So learning how to exercise mindfully can also help us to discover exercise tolerance instead of intolerance. So I know that most of you are very aware of mindfulness practice. So this is really just a review and a helpful definition for any dragon who might be new to the Dragon Claw group and isn't that familiar with mindfulness. So what is mindfulness? Mindfulness is awareness that arises through paying attention on purpose in the present moment. So right here, right now, with a curious and friendly attitude that's non-judging. And our intention is that mindful approach is in service of our own self-care, self-understanding, and wisdom. So how can that approach, that mindful approach, support exercise tolerance? So I've further separated this approach into 3 key areas. And the first one is, you'll see this fist and being supported by an open palm. And this is actually something that's really, really important in a mindful approach, because what it's all about is supporting yourself in your mindful movement exercise in a way that's safe and supported. So I'm just going to come off of the slideshow for a moment. And I'm just going to lead you through a very short practice here that I call the hand-fist exercise, and it really demonstrates creating that supportive container we want to cultivate in our movement practice. So you might want to try this with me. So I'm having my hands up so that you can see them in the screen, but you yourself can be holding them down a little closer to your lap. And the invitation is to make a fist with your left hand. And to the degree you're able and that your joints allow, make a fist with your left hand. And for this practice, I want you to imagine that the job of this left hand, this left fist, is to take care of your safety. So it represents your safety doing movement, but it also, in sort of a wider context, represents your own safety as you go through your life and the strategies that you use to keep you safe. And so with your other hand, I'd like you to go ahead and try to pry open this left hand, which represents your safety and the strategies you have to keep you safe. So really let yourself have this experience of trying to open this clenched fist, and just notice what you're feeling as you're trying to open this fist that represents all the strategies you have to keep you safe. Really feel that. And then, okay, just let that go, shake out any tension from your hand. So now we're going to do a round 2. And what we're going to do is we're going to make that same fist again with our left hand. And again, it's the fist's job to stay closed, to keep you safe. And then this time though, I'd like you to hold up your right hand with the palm facing up. And just take a moment to put some mindful presence and care into the palm of that right hand. And then with that right hand, go ahead and gently place it under the closed fist. And feeling that care and presence underneath the fist whose job it is to keep you safe. Almost as if that right hand is conveying to the left fist, good job. That is so smart. Staying closed makes so much sense. I have no agenda to actually open you. I'm just here to be with you and support you. You don't have to open if you don't want. And then you can let that go. And the reason I wanted to do that practice with you is that many of you might have had the experience in that first round of that fist wasn't going to open for any reason. And the further you tried to pry, the more tightly that fist was closed. And if I'm encouraging you to do movements in your movement practice that don't feel right, don't feel safe for you in your body on any given day, there's no way that you're going to do the movements. So a mindful practice is about not forcing that hand to open. It's really about that second round. So my role is to offer you a supportive container where you know that your safety is prioritized and that you can release, join in, try any of the movements, adapt and modify at your own pace and in your own timing. And so that is the first mindful principle, creating that supportive container with the hand-fist exercise. So now I'm going to go back into share screen again. So that's the first component of mindfulness, to support exercise tolerance. The second is listening, mindful listening. So it's listening with non-judging to yourself. It's listening with curiosity, with kindness to yourself, no matter what you might be feeling on any given day. And becoming aware of the subtle body sensations, emotions, and thoughts that might be arising as you move through the practice in the way that feels right for you. And then finally, the third component of a mindful approach is to really pay attention to your pacing. And sometimes if we're not very present, if we're not very mindful, we tend to go on automatic pilot. We tend to speed through our movements. We're not really paying attention to what we're actually feeling and to the level of intensity. So when you slow down, when you really pay attention, when you pace yourself, you're much more in choice as to what movements are appropriate and the level of intensity that feels appropriate to engage on any given day. So mindful movement, these three basics you do on a day when you're in flare. So you may feel I can't be doing anything, but in fact, I'm going to be teaching you these very simple basics that so that on those days you can still feel like you're doing something. So the first is our posture. And you'll notice here that there are people with very good posture in sitting poses. So I'm just showing you here that you can sit cross-legged, you could sit in good posture kneeling, you could sit in good posture in a chair. But what you do see is the torso is upright and the head's aligning generally over the shoulders and the hips. So you can also find this good posture when you're in standing as well. When you lie down on your back, you automatically, as long as you give yourself good support under the head, you're automatically in that good posture position. So I want to teach you something called hyoid back, which I find is one verbal cue that helps to literally bring the whole body into good alignment. And you'll hear me a lot in these in this series to cue that good posture by saying hyoid back. So again, I'm just going to come off of the PowerPoint for a moment so you can see this. So there was this image of the bone, the hyoid bone, and it is a horseshoe-shaped bone, and it sits atop of your voice box and supports your tongue. The interesting thing about this bone is that it's not attached to any other bone in the body. In fact, it's the only bone not attached to any other bone in the body. It's just attached through soft tissues like ligaments. So here's how we practice hyoid back. So I'm going to back away from the screen a little bit so that you get a little bit better view of my head, my neck, and my upper back. I'm going to back it up here. Sitting, I think I can put the screen. So I have a very, I have a condition that makes me hypermobile. So I have a lot of laxity in my body and in my joints. So that means that I can very easily demonstrate going out of good alignment, good posture, letting that head forward position be very pronounced. See how the rounding is in my upper back. My abdominals, I just have fold upon fold upon fold here. So if I were to cue the hyoid back, I imagine that that horseshoe-shaped bone is right here. And I'm very mindful of the bottom of my chin, staying parallel to the floor. What that means is I don't want to tip the chin up, and I don't want to bring the chin down. I want to keep the bottom of my chin parallel to the floor so that I'm cueing the hyoid back and not risking crunching into the back of my neck. So here's the horseshoe-shaped bone, and I'm going to slowly bring it back. And I want you to watch my body from this position, this head forward position, and notice what's happening in my neck, my upper back, and my abdominals. So as I bring the hyoid back, I can tell you what I'm feeling. I'm feeling more length in my neck. I'm feeling more work in my upper back. So the postural muscles in my upper back are working to hold me upright. And I'm also feeling more bracing in my core. My core muscles are actually working now to hold me upright. So I'm going to just repeat that, and you may want to join in if you're watching this. So here's this head forward position. I want you to take a moment to feel the constriction in the back of the neck, the overstretching and rounding in your upper back, and not much happening in the abdominals. And then think about that hyoid. Keep your chin parallel to the floor, and slowly, slowly, slowly bring it back. Neck is lengthening. Upper back is strengthening. Core muscles are strengthening. And we're going to talk about abdominal bracing, but by the very nature of bringing your hyoid back, you're bringing your abdominals into that brace position. Okay, so that's something you can do. You can practice when you're driving in the car, for example. What I tend to do is I tend to bring my hyoid back first and then fix the rear view mirror. So I have to be in the good posture position to actually see what's in the rear view mirror. So that's a little tip for you to practice hyoid back in your daily life. Okay, so let's go back into share screen and let's continue on with some of these basics. So there is the hyoid bone, there it sits, and cueing the hyoid back to come into great alignment, whether you're in sitting, you're standing, or doing any of the movements I'm going to be teaching you over these next 5 weeks. Okay, so the next thing is mindful breathing, and I'm introducing the second to the hyoid back because you want to be in that really good posture before you do your breathing, to get the full benefit of breathing. So let's say you're in flare, or you're just feeling exhausted, depleted, unwell. Jon Kabat-Zinn says, as long as you're breathing, there is more right with you than wrong with you. And so keeping that in mind on those hard days. And then letting your attention be on your breathing, feeling your connection to a much larger whole. I have an infinity symbol here because the act of breathing is not an individual act. Every time we breathe in and out, we're connecting ourselves to the world around us. And in particular, the natural world around us, which is offering to us oxygen, and we give back carbon dioxide. And we're in this intricate dance with the natural world always. And this is a dance we can never step out of. And if you actually use your breath as a way to mindfully focus the mind, you're going to notice that the mind has a tendency to wander if you're choosing to focus on the breath. And when you notice that the mind has wandered, just remembering that it's completely natural for the mind to wander. And what we're actually doing is when we're meditating on the breath or on any object, really, what we're doing is we're strengthening the muscle of the mind. And we're learning how to direct and redirect our attention on a particular object. And so I'm actually going to do a 3-minute breath meditation with you right now. And this is something you can come back to at any time. So I'm just going to set the timer here for 3 minutes. Okay. So the first thing we want to do is set up our good posture. So sit upright in a chair. Or you could do this breath meditation in lying or standing if that's more comfortable for you. But wherever you are, make sure you're feeling comfortable and supported. So what I'm doing right now, I'm going to come off stop share, or I'm going to stop share for a moment here so you can actually see me. So you'll want to make sure that you're sitting, if you're in a chair, with your seat back in the chair, that the back is supported. Your feet are firmly on the ground or on something that's supporting your feet, maybe a couple of yoga blocks, for example, if your legs are shorter. And bring that hyoid back. Invite any tension to soften around your eyes. So if you're feeling a little scrunching around the outer corners of your eyes, see if you can soften that. Your eyes can be open, or if you're comfortable, you can gently let the eyes close. Softening the jaw, perhaps just parting the teeth slightly. Some people like to place the tongue on the roof of the mouth. You can shrug your shoulders up towards your ears and then let them go. Just let them drop. And then dropping your attention down into the belly. And invite any tension you discover there to soften as well, as best you can. And then when and if you feel ready, you could turn your attention to something that is with you 20,000 times a day and that we rarely notice. And that is awareness of your breathing. In fact, your friend, this is your closest friend, is your breath. And the reason it's your closest friend is because your breath has been with you since the day you were born and will be your closest friend and ally until the day you die. So there's no need to control your friend, the breath. Just let it happen. Be a witness to it. Be aware of it and how it feels as it moves in and out of the body. And just try to be with your breath, to focus on your breath in this way for the next 3 minutes. Riding the wave of the breath with your attention as it flows in, as it flows out in your own rhythm. Feeling the chest move as a whole, 360 degrees to the front, the side, and the back, just simply moving with the breath. If the mind wanders and you notice that, this is a moment of mindfulness. And without judging, just gently let whatever carried you away go and gently shepherd your attention back to the breath. And slowly opening your eye. So that's a practice that you can do any day of the week. Just going to move back here to our slideshow. And the third basic I want to review is the importance of that abdominal brace. And I touched into that when we brought the hyoid back and feeling the engagement of the muscles in our abdominals. The thing to remember about the abdominal brace is we tend to think of the abdominals as mostly in the front of the body. But see if you can imagine, like I've done here in this skeleton, is to imagine that the spine is the central pole of the circus tent. And these guy wires go out from the central pole to hold that pole upright 360 degrees around that center pole. And when we think about the abdominal brace, it's not just to the front of our torso. We also want to create strength in the lateral sides of the torso, so to the sides of the torso. So down here and here, here and here, and also to remember that our core muscles can go all the way around to the back of the body and connect to the spine. So we want to think about abdominal bracing 360 degrees around the torso when we're in that good posture. So we want to brace when we're in good posture. So what we're going to do now is we are going to bring some mindful movement to some light daily activity. And I'm just showing you some of these activities we all have to do in our daily lives. And one of them is bending our knees and bending forward to pick up a load of laundry, or sitting down on a toilet and getting back up again, or getting into the car, or these myriad of movements, loading a dishwasher, brushing your teeth, vacuuming. And I'm going to be going through some exercises now that help you to do these movements correctly. All these green check marks show that this is being done when the hyoid is back and the abdomen is braced. And we're also going to do a little bit of mindful breathing as we go through these regular activities in our daily lives and the movements we're going to go through today. One thing I want to highlight is the importance of not rounding your spine or keeping your legs locked as you're picking up an object, and similarly not rounding the spine as you're doing many of these activities. So let's move into some practice now. If you feel like this is a good day to do these practices that will prepare you for light daily activity. So I'm going to move back from the screen now so you can see my whole body sitting in a chair.
And let's start with those three basic movements. So sitting back in the chair, feet planted on the ground. And let's bring the hyoid back. Feeling the abdominals bracing to support you, upper back supporting you. And let's take 3 mindful breaths before we start our movement practice for light daily activity. So breathing in, breathing out. Now your breath rhythm may be different from mine, so just let your rhythm be natural. And so breathe in again when you're ready. Breathing out when you're ready. Let's all do one more breath. Now, the first movement we're going to do is a very basic movement called sit to stand. And what that does is it begins to develop the strength in the front of the legs. And this becomes really, really important as we get older because the muscles in the front of our thighs are some of the first muscles to atrophy, to get weaker. And so being mindful of that, we really need to keep these guys strong. So to do the sit to stand, you want to sit more to the edge of your chair, and you don't want your feet too far out. You actually want to bring your feet a little bit back behind your knees, and you're going to lean forward slightly. So if you have armrests, you can push off with your hands on armrests, or you can push off with the seat of a chair. Or if you want more challenge, just hold your hands over, cross your hands over the chest. And so what we're going to do here with my feet a little bit behind the knees is I'm going to hinge from my hips, my chest. If I was to imagine a light shining, it's going to be shining a light on the wall in front. And that leaning forward is going to give me the momentum to stand with control. And then keeping that light shining towards the wall in front of me, I'm going to reach my bum back and lower back into the chair with control. So often when we're coming back down to the seat of a chair, there's a tendency to just kind of drop. And in order to strengthen these thighs, we want to really control the standing up and reaching that bum back, chest lifting, controlling as we sit back down. We're going to do 2 more here, and I'm going to exhale as I stand. It gives me a little bit more energy against the force of gravity. I'm going to inhale with control as I lower back down. So exhale and inhale, lower back. And you can have the hands helping you here. Not a problem at all. Now, I'm going to, from standing now, I'm going to come into a movement called the squat. So this is where you don't actually sit your bum in the chair. And because we've already warmed up the legs, what we're going to do is we're actually going to reach the bum back. You can bend your knees as much as you're comfortable, and we're just going to stay there for a count of 5. So coming into a hold, and this is again to strengthen the front of your legs. So I'm just going to reach my bum back, keep my chest lifted, keeping my knees from buckling in. So keeping the knees over the toes and holding for a count of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ground into the feet and slowly and mindfully stand up. Now, just a little bit something there. If your knees felt tweaky, you could just bend your knees a little bit. And then over time, as your thighs get stronger, you can come further and further down into a squat. The other thing you can do is actually use the wall for support. So I call this the wall sit, where you come into good posture and you back your bum and feeling your back at the wall and gently bringing the hyoid back. The back of your head may or may not touch the wall, just depending if you've got some rounding in your upper back. And then walking your feet a little bit away from the wall. What you do is you're using the support of the wall to gradually slide down the wall. And again, my feet are far enough out here that the knees are over top of the ankles. And if it's feeling a little bit too constricted, walk your feet out a little bit further. And over time, using the support of the wall, you may be able to lower further and further down on the wall, coming no further than thighs parallel with the floor. And it's common sense that the further down we come, the more challenge to the strength in our thighs. This is also a good one to help with having a guide for your posture as well. So I highly recommend, this is a great way as well to strengthen the quads for all the sitting to standing that we need to do in our daily lives. Okay, I'm just going to review how I came out of that. So I kind of pushed myself up the wall so I wasn't as much in a bent knee position. And then keeping my chest lifted, I just leaned forward a little bit and placed my palms on the wall and gently push that remaining distance to standing. So that is a very key movement in our daily lives. The next movement is how we actually bend over. And if you recall in those graphics I was showing you, they're saying do not round the spine as you bend forward. You want to keep this good posture in your torso with the hyoid back. And as you bend forward, the only thing that hinges is the front of your groins. And I'm just going to do this first with the support of a chair. Movement. So you could, if you're dealing with any back pain, you may just want to do this a little bit, like not coming too much with the torso parallel with the floor. So if you use the back of a chair, over time, you can come lower down and maybe place the hands on the chair. But what you can see here, can you see how my spine is in neutral? It isn't rounding. And so the bum is reaching back. My legs, I call them at the knees a little soft. They're not locked straight completely. There's a little bit of give in the knees. I can move them. I'm not really bent, but I'm not locked back into my joints as well. And in this position, I'm in that good posture. The only thing that's hinging is my groins, and my hands are down on the chair. So my gaze is down at the back seat of the chair. My head isn't dropped. My hyoid is actually back so that my ears are still aligning with shoulders and shoulders are still aligning with hips. It's just now gravity is coming straight down on my torso rather than standing. So that is a way you can start. The key here is reaching your bum back towards the wall behind you. I'm not forward here. Do you see how my bum is back of my heels? And I'm actually moving back until I can actually feel some sensation in the bum and the backs of the legs. There should be no discomfort in the spine. If there is, then you may want to start higher up for your practice. And then over time, you can actually do this without the support of a chair. And what I like to do is I like to bring my two pinkies into the crease of the groin here. And what I'm doing with the palms up is I'm going to hinge at the groins again. So I'm not rounding the spine. I'm reaching my bum back, and my belly is coming closer to the palms of my hands. My head is not dropped. My head, ears are in alignment with the shoulders, and the shoulders are in alignment with the hips, and the bum is reaching back as if it was trying to brush the wall behind me. To come up from this, I'm using the strength of my legs, and my torso is straightening up as one unit. So we're going to try that again. With or without chair, your hands could be on the back of the chair, on the seat of the chair, or hands in your groins. Reach your bum back. There's no rounding in the spine. The spine is staying what we call neutral, in its neutral curves, and then grounding in the heels to come to stand back up. So I'm going to inhale, reaching that bum back. I stop when I feel sensation in my bum, not my back, and then ground into my heels and come back up. And we're going to do that twice more. So getting familiar with this movement is really, really, really important to do the next movement I am going to be talking about. But how we could use this in our daily lives is I have a basket here. So what we want to do is when we bend over, we want to be a neutral spine, nice and braced. We bring an object close into us. We use the strength of our legs, and see how my spine stays neutral to come to standing. And again, if I'm putting an object back down, it's always better to put an object not to the floor, but on a raised surface, so you don't have to use as much of your leg and back muscles to pick up an object. So it's always great to actually put objects down on an elevated surface. But that's the hip hinge. And that is something you can use throughout your daily life. The final movement was a modification of both those movements using unilateral leg position in a lunge. So for that, we're going to step forward with the left foot, and the back foot comes back, and you're bending into the front knee. Now, the distance between the feet is going to vary with each person. So some people will have their feet closer together, and some people will have their feet further apart from one another. The key thing here, and I'm going to face you to show you this. So you want your feet to be tracking the same width as your hips. We're not on a balance beam here. It just becomes too wobbly. Balance is next week. So for now, we want to be more stable on the feet. You can see how my left toes are pointed straight forward. My back leg, the right toes are angled very slightly out to the side. So I'll give you another side view here. The back heel is on the ground, and that, again, if you're very tight in your calf, you will probably have a shorter stance. But that back heel is on the ground and that front knee is bending. Feet are hip width apart. And then you want a hip hinge. So again, we want to avoid this. We want to actually hinge from those groins. And here we're brushing our teeth, we're doing dishes. So what I tend to do is I open up the cupboards and I actually put one foot up on the little shelf while I'm doing dishes, and then you hip hinge and do the dishes. And it's actually a great way to support your back. You can brush your teeth this way. You can vacuum this way. You can shovel this way. You can sweep or rake this way. So this is really, really an important movement for your daily activity to make the movements more enjoyable and more pain-free. And then you're likely to do more daily activity with greater ease and motivation. So let's practice this movement. So let's have that left leg forward and that right leg back, bending slightly into the front knee. You can see how my front knee's tracking pretty much over that left ankle. Back heel is on the ground and the back right toes are angled slightly to the outside. And here we hip hinge again, not rounding the spine. And let's just place hands on chair for a moment. And we'll just hold that for a count of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then we're going to stand and let's see how the other side goes. So again, the feet are hip width apart. We're not on a balance beam. Hip width apart, right knee bends, left leg back, left heel on the ground, left toes slightly turning out to the side. And let's just hip hinge here for a count of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then we'll come back and step the feet together. So over time, as you get stronger, you can let go of the chair and practice maybe with arms forward, or arms to the sides is probably easier, sort of a mid position. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And come back. You may not be there yet. Stepping back, and that's okay. With that left foot, hip hinge, maybe hands on chair, maybe arms out to the sides for a count of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Come back, step the feet together, and shake it out. So those 3 movements, the squat, whether it's sit to stand or just practicing, holding, and coming to standing. The hip hinge, remembering not to round the spine, but moving the spine in one unit. And then it's called the modified golfer's reach, this one, because the golfers get really good at picking up from the ground their golf ball. And so that's where the modified golfer's reach comes from. So those are some movements you can bring into your daily life, bringing your mindfulness into these movements. So that's what I have for you in this first class. So wishing you a wonderful day and enjoyment in all the daily that you do in your daily life. Take good care.